What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of The Climb. I'm your host, XRAY, and today I'm joined by some two handsome gentlemen in the top lane. It's the top lane episode. My first co-host is the Gnar enthusiast and a true legend of the diaper duty, Injustice.
What's up, guys?
My second co-host is the top laner, or is he a mid laner? I'm not sure yet, but man, his Gnar was popping these last 2 weeks. Sparks, what's up,
Hello.
man? What's up?
Good. Doing good.
So let's get to know a little bit about these guys. So Injustice, when did you get introduced to Summit?
I would say I'm more of a kind of a newcomer. Maybe now I think on my junior year, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is my third season here in Summits. I was joined when we had La Liga, so the last season of La Liga. I was introduced into the Summit to La Liga by Red Ranger. Got drafted by Soulpan into the infamous Monsters Inc. Uh,
Hmm.
Had a very good time. Met a lot of good people, and decided this is something I wanted to continue to do.
Awesome, awesome. And I think Sparks, you've been here since the beginning with me, right?
Yeah, I've been around a fair bit. It's been a long road. There have been a few seasons where I've taken breaks.
Hmm.
I was here even before like La Liga technically. Like I knew a lot of the like owners beforehand, and then
Hmm.
they formed La Liga, and then from there it transitioned to Summit. But I didn't play like the first season of Summit, so I'm coming back into a whole new role. But I'm happy to be here because it's a lot of good people.
Hey, I mean, you had a pretty strong showing in week one, and it was really impressive.
Thanks.
And Sparks, how long have you been playing League? Out of curiosity.
So I first started League of Legends when the League of Legends client was showing Braum. That was back in like season 4. That was like the new champion that came out,
Whoa, season
which
four?
is yeah, it's been a bit for sure.
Oh, this guy has been here a minute,
Yeah.
and Injustice. I think you said before pre-show we said Injustice or not Injustice. Red Ranger introduced you to League.
No, it's a Summit,
Oh,
not a
to
league.
Summit. Oh, okay. So
So
how, how did you
I've been
start
playing
playing
League
League?
for a very long time. Also, season 4. I was Bronze 4 when I
Wow.
started. I believe Aatrox had come out during that season. Not really sure. I was a jungle main in the beginning. I was a Rengar enthusiast.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I've been playing for a very long time. I'll
Wow.
say
I
close to like 10 years now.
I feel like I'm the baby here because I started in like season six, I think. Let's see, what was it? 20 2016? I think that's season six at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think around there. You picked it up
Yeah.
well, considering you're the newest one from at least our bunch.
Yeah. So yeah, out of the three of us, I'm the youngest here. So, uh, but yeah, week one and week two have officially ended for Summit. We have a lot of heavy hitters that kind of showed up in a big way. And let's just talk about the first game. Game of the week for week one: Disco Spiders versus Goofy Gophers. And let's just get it out of the way. X-Ray, the solo bolo king, kills Dad multiple times. Listen, man, I was not expecting to kill Dad that many times. Uh, Granted, they did not play the best, and Dad recognized that and even told his team and even told me. Um, so I will say, I think if we play them again in a best of three series, even if we meet them in playoffs, I don't think I cannot recreate that outcome. So,
Um, hate to be the hater, but I did tell you this in person. I said I think you faced Elodad 9 more times, and you don't recreate that performance.
I
Uh,
I don't think so.
I have personally faced Elodad. I think he is one of the hardest, and he is the hardest matchup I have faced in La Liga or Summit combined. He is a menace. I think he understands top lane or the game to a high standard, and
Hmm.
But congratulations! I know it was a big feat. It's a big feat for anyone,
Hmm.
especially in the top lane. I've seen him I've seen him against Conga, and that's also one sided into Illidan. And Conga's an amazing player in his own right. So again, I props to you.
Hmm.
Don't want
Thank
to
you.
be a hater. Just
Hey, no, I'll be honest. That game I was fully expecting to get destroyed on, because like I'm realistically I have like one of the hardest schedules for top lane. So I faced Elodad, then I faced Kanga, and next week I faced DB4P, and then the following week I
oh
play
my god.
Logic. Yeah, I have a really rough first 4 games, and then week 5 I think I get a little break playing against Asuna. I think is who I play. I can't remember off the top of my head. So little break, on
That's
quotes.
crazy to say that.
Uh, but no, yeah, game 1 it was super fun. Played the Malphite, and honestly, we were actually behind for most of that game. But then I had that huge Malphite ultimate. Uh, with the 4-man, I TP'd into the mid lane brush, and I got a 4-man ultimate, and that's really what changed the game, of the game.
Yeah,
I was
kind of like adding on to that. Sorry.
no worries.
Champions like Malphite or like Shen or like Ornn, they like their purpose is pretty clear, right? Like
Mhm.
laning phase is going to be like very tough for you, but you're able to transition into helping the team out a lot in team fighting. And so if you're going for that kind of style, which I think is more like up the Disco Spiders alley, I'd say like their coordination's like I think that's fair to say your guys' coordination's pretty top tier.
Mhm.
And so having like champions like that really help I guess utilize its strengths, which happened in that series.
Yeah,
Um,
I would
yeah.
say I don't know if you guys are familiar with football. There's a reference in football where let's say there's Adrian Peterson. I think he's a well-known running back.
Mhm.
Mm,
There was an individual you could call, let's say, X player is a poor man version of him. So basically, it just means that the player is like somewhat similar style, just a lot weaker. I
Mhm.
would say you're a poor man's version of X-Ray. X-Ray is a poor man version of DB VP4 VP.
Mhm.
I think you both play similar styles and you play around your team. Malphite, Ornn. I haven't seen you in Shen, but
Mhm.
you have like a similar champ pool. And again, like Spark said, like your goal is very simple.
Mhm.
You're not gonna win lane unless you're DB4 DB4 VP. You're not gonna win lane, but you find usage on the mid to late game. And that Malphite ult, I will say, was beautiful. It was a 4-man ult
Mhm.
that completely altered that game, that team fight. And then after that, it just pretty much fucking snowballed the game for
Yep.
Disco Spiders.
Yeah, and that, like kind of like what you said is like I don't consider myself a care player at all. Like I call myself a role player. I'll play what the team needs, right? Engage, secondary engage. Something that just can hold down the top lane and just like hold the enemy laner there. Uh, so yeah, I consider myself a role player, and yeah, I mean, overall, I think Illidan, yes. I think once again, like you said, if I play against Illidan again, no way I'm recreating that unless I go become like a challenger player, which is not possible in the short time of Summit. But you know, it's possible. One day, maybe I'll be able to recreate it. But
One day. If it
today,
makes you feel better, I could face Illidan 9 times. I'll never win. So at least
hey,
you won once.
On top of that, I recently I've been transitioning to top lane, right? So that means I'm
uh-huh.
learning to play new people. I played a lot of the mid laners in this league. Now I'm playing the top laners. I played a scrim against Illidan, and I just played the recent series, which we'll probably talk about later. Oh
Hmm.
man, I've learned so much in terms of the beatings. They never stop with
They
Illidan.
never stop. They
It's
truly never
I
stop.
I was warned. I was warned about it, and I was like, "Oh man, it sounds like it's gonna be a nightmare." And then I was like, "Oh god, it was significantly worse than what people even warned
Yep.
me about." So
Hmm.
I'm in the same boat as Injustice. Like all 9 times, I'd get trounced pretty much.
Yeah. Honestly, great time. Moving on to the game 2 of that series. You know, game 2 was pretty much a stomp. Otherwise, XRAY once again killed Eldad multiple times on the Urgot. flipped him under tower. But we got the first pentakill of Summit season 2. Space Smurf got penta on Zeri. So a little round of applause for him.
Shocker.
A little round of applause for
Shocker.
him. Um, but yeah, I mean, this game wasn't really close. We had a really significant lead, and then X-Ray threw his lead, so it kind of stalled the game out. But we still got Disco Spiders still got the win in a pretty easy way. Sorry. Moving on to the next game. Let's see. Team name MNC Mystic Ninja Cyclones. That's their name. Versus Corporate Budget Cuts. Mystic Ninjas got the 2-1 win over Corporate Budget Cuts. And Ninjas, I will say, Asuna beating DB4P in the top lane. I believe he got some solo kills, is what I've heard. I didn't get to watch all the games, but that's pretty impressive. He's kind of pretty much what happened to Eladad is like worst top laner kills a tier 1 top laner, which is impressive in its own way. So props to him.
I would
But
say Osuna pretty
yeah.
much impressed a lot. I think he played really well. Um, Given the fact that he was given, I think game one he got destroyed.
Oh,
Yeah, I,
completely.
I, but the moment they left Yon up,
Hmm.
it pretty much. I mean, he solo killed that Nessus. He also 2v1 afterwards. Not like I think like close to two
Yeah,
minutes after that, he 2v1 the jungle and DB4BP. So he played really well. And for I just don't understand, and I continue to not understand on why corporate did not ban the Yonel game three. Because I feel like if you had, you might have won that game.
I agree. Um, after looking at Asuna's recent games, I thought he was a two trick for the longest time. Yasuo Yone, right? But when I looked at it, is like his Yasuo win rate over like 7 games is 0%. And I was like, oh, never mind. This guy is just a one trick, and they left his one trick up 2 game, not one game, but 2 games in a row. So I think it was a little bit of a blunder. So honestly, corporate budget cuts. I honestly think that series you just draft diff. They did pick the Nasus though, to counter pick them, which okay, that I can understand that, but like after like 20 minutes, you this Nastic yes has like 400 stacks, right? But like he's just dying a lot in the team fights and side lane to the Yone. So it's not a real whole lot to talk about the rest of the series because like it just I think Corporate Budge Cuts game 2 and 3 just kind of had a draft diff. But still, I do think this team is a potential playoff player, even though they have lost like the past 2 weeks. But we'll talk about this week 2 later. But
I will say that they are a playoff team in one condition. I think the strongest version of corporate budget cuts is Proton Plat Player ADC and Giuseppe Jungle. I
One thing,
understand wanting to
Mhm,
flex both, and I understand the bigger champ pool you have in both
mhm,
roles, flexing them. I get that, but I still think you're strongest when you have both of these individuals in their natural role. I know Giuseppe's swapping to ADC, but I think when you're facing off players like them, Nightmare, Rob, I think your best bet is still putting on Proton Plat. I mean, Proton Plat player destroyed them in this
mhm,
matchup with Zeri. It was the one game they won. So I think
mhm.
you continue if you want to continue to win, you leave it how it is, and you can try Josephi when it comes to ADCs. He's probably either a little weaker with or just an equal level of. I don't know. That's my opinion.
yeah. Just to kind of add on to that, like I think the base point of confusion, I think when people are watching corporate budget cuts right now is that constant flex swapping, like
Mhm.
moving Giuseppe and Proton Plat player. I think when a lot of people are watching the game, it's like, oh, okay, I guess they're swapping around. Have they not found like a definitive, I guess, like play style, I guess that suits them, or are they trying to be like a team that like oh, we can run both ways and kind of trip up people. But at the moment, at least with the series and the last series, I'm not sure if I'm too keen on the idea at the moment. I
Mhm.
think it would be best for them, but they know their own system better. But I think it would probably make the most sense to like find a definitive like structure of I want these 5 players to play in this role. I think there's one other team that has a similar situation, like don't
Mhm.
press tab, but
Yep.
we'll get to them when we get to them.
Yeah, and
I mean,
yeah, they're both really unique teams. Both of them can make those swaps without having any rules put on them, and which is awesome. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you have the ability to swap those two players to their different roles and find success, awesome. But so far, corporate budget cuts hasn't really found that success yet, and the only time they have found that success is with Proton Plat player being in that bot lane, Giuseppe being in that jungle. So we'll kind of see within like the coming weeks to maybe if they find like that definitive identity, Proton Plat player being that bot lane, Giuseppe being that bot lane. Because honestly, I think what's hurting them also is Sunny Blues doesn't really have a definitive duo he can like find a good synergy with. And you technically you don't really need to have that, but it's nice to have. So hopefully we'll see some improvement from quarter budget cuts in the coming weeks, and hopefully they can make it to playoffs.
I personally believe in them that they definitely can make playoffs. I think
I
once
think
they
so
sort
too.
out their identity, 100%, they're a
Hmm.
very strong team.
I do. I was actually going to speak on exactly what X-Ray said. I think, and is more than Sunny Blues. I think because I think Spark hit it correctly in that like you're not just messing up these two players. Like these two players have to learn both roles in a competitive manner or a competitive level, but
Hmm.
you also have to then you're kind of screwing over your solo laners and your support in that okay if like when it's proton plat player and the top laner has to adjust to a certain way that jungler plays. But when
Hmm.
Giuseppe comes with his different style of jungling, then your solo laners also have to adjust to that. And on top of that, yes, Sunny Blues has to learn how to support two players, which isn't too difficult.
Mm-mm.
But I think I would say that Giuseppe is a little more conservative in the ADC role versus Pro-Tem Plat player, who's a lot more aggressive, and that can be difficult to translate into a game when the support has to try to balance these two styles.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, yeah, I mean, like you said, I think corporate budget cuts can definitely make them. Mystic Ninjas, congrats on the win. Moving on to the next game. Actually, or sorry, we're gonna just do a quick mention. And setup versus Asterios Bonobos and setup one. We're just gonna go on to the next game. Don't want to get into all that drama. So Misfits versus Don't Press Tab. Sparks, are you a top laner or a mid laner now? Uh,
So coming into the season, I put my name in the plate to get drafted. And I was like, all right, I'm a mid laner through and through. But I mean, the next role that I played, I dabbled with a biz top lane, but there's no chance in hell anyone's gonna draft me for top lane. And then I looked at the mid lane pool and was like, oh god, okay, I see where things are going. And then I got messages like, oh god, it looks like I'm going top. It's I guess I'm a top laner now. Learning a lot of the champions. Kind of have to. I want to bring in like mid lane pool like into top lane
mhm.
because I think some of the mid lane champions work really really well in the top
Yeah,
lane
no, totally.
if given the opportunity. But I think right now trying to find our identity a bit. Our series it was this one versus Don't Press Tab, right?
Yep.
The I think overall as a team, we're able to kind of like hit the nail on the head on what we wanted to do for the majority of the series, even the one that we lost. But it's yeah, it's been a transition. I'm like a little duckling right now, surrounded by all the veterans.
all the big ducks.
You
Yeah.
betcha, because you guys
I
have been around there for a while.
uh yeah, I've been in the top lane for two and a half seasons now.
Actually, technically, X-Ray, you were used to be a mid laner, and then you
Yeah.
also transitioned
Hmm.
top lane. So I guess I'm kind of like in a way slowly following your
You-
footsteps.
You're following my footsteps. Hopefully you don't follow my champ pool, because I think you're the much better player. But I mean, yeah, I honestly I played with Sparks multiple times in the mid lane, and And honestly, you and Logic are very similar. And honestly, I feel like you guys can bring some of those mid lane champions to the top lane. And that's what I'm scared of. Because when I play, because I played against Sparks, I think last season, and he brought out the Cassio top lane against me. And I was like, dude, I don't want to play this game. It's just so unplayable. And yeah, the first game, actually, all the games you picked Gnar in this series and absolutely destroyed Brissy in almost every single one of them. And I think didn't you play that every single matchup is Ornn
Uh,
versus Ornn?
I played Gnar into Ornn, and then there's one game where it ended up being
Oh, that's right.
Yone
They played.
into, I believe, Malphite, I
Yeah,
believe,
yeah, yeah.
into
I
game
remember now.
three. But
Yeah.
the Gnar versus Ornn matchup I was very comfortable with in
Mhm.
the first two games into Brissy for sure. I've seen the matchup and kind of like how it can go wrong for Gnar, but I'll be honest, I flubbed up a bunch of the trades in the first game, but once you
Yeah.
kind of get the the figure it out, then it's all good.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, when I was watching these series back, I was like, man, Brissy, you could kill him right here. All you gotta do is hit your Q and just do the combo. But I knew like Brissy didn't know how to do it, but I was like, man, just you could do it. I believe in you. Being a fellow Orin player, so but
I've seen moments of greatness with Brissy for sure.
mhm.
I think there's definitely he will grow a bunch this season. At least personally, I think I see for sure. But I kind of I feel bad because like there's so many insane top laners this season, and I'm just oh god, you know.
Yeah, I don't get to face him until the last week of the regular season, so
Mm.
hopefully maybe he'll become like the best top laner in the next couple weeks, and I'm just gonna have to struggle against him. So we'll see. We'll see how he progresses. But looking at the rest of the team, Garagura and XD losing it. We were talking about this earlier about don't press tab. These two have been swapping for different roles for the past couple games. So we saw XD losing it. I think game one. And the mid lane playing the Vex. Didn't find that win against Misfits. Then he played in the jungle, which I think was like Hecarim or something like that. Um,
Sounds right. It's been a bit, unfortunately,
yeah, it's been a bit.
but
We're
I know
trying to
they
catch
swapped
up.
by game two.
Yeah, and then I think game three they kept the same thing, so XD losing it in the jungle, but they haven't really found the success yet. And honestly, I'm a little disappointed in how this team is performing as of recent because I honestly think they have such a good team comp, right? So you have the only weak side you have is your is Brissy, which
Hmm.
yes, putting on him a tank like something that can just like try to hold down the top lane is really good. And XD losing it, Garagura also really good players. Have been performing in some ways, but have been lacking in other ways. But then the bot lane, Goblin, yes, he's returning from a season break, but he can still perform on some of these characters. We saw it in game two of this series. Really impressive. And then Venom, a solid bot lane all alone.
I will say, this series it was Kabebe that was filling in for Venom a
Oh,
bunch.
that's right. I totally forgot. Yeah.
There could have been an impact. I definitely believe there for sure was an impact to having a difference in support because I'm assuming if you're practicing with Venom a lot and then you're playing with someone different, even though Kabebe I think performed from at least what I was heard from my teammates performed well. It's just that like you have to kind of readjust communications when you have a substitute in, as anybody knows who's had a sub and it
Mhm.
changes kind of some dynamics within the team. And then yeah, just adding on to your point, like it is. I think they do the lane swap in my opinion between Gargura and XD losing it. I think they do it better in my opinion than corporate budget cuts. They're not
Definitely.
dragging in the support to have to change in the the dynamics there. It's just pretty much between solo lane and a jungler. And from what I've seen, their playstyles are decently more similar
Hmm.
compared to Giuseppe and Proton Plat player, and I think that gives them an edge. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think just where you were they're underperforming. I think is the nicest way to say it.
Hmm.
At least compared to what some standards were. But I think they'll pick it up as like time goes on and they practice
What I will
more as a
say
team.
is from like so what I'll say is like since it's the starting week, so a lot of teams are still trying to find their identity, and so I think Gorilla Budget Cuts and Don't Press Tab. I think these two teams are still playoff teams. I think they just need to find what their identity is, what's going to work for them, and then from there they can kind of just grow from it and perform really well. So I'm really excited about how this team will progress. And yeah, I mean that's all I really got for this series. I think that game two, Gargoyle Show, Smurfed on the Silas, and then game three, Kha'Zix, Guanabon. Give him props. That's my boy. Shout out to that guy. Kha'Zix ran everyone down on the Kha'Zix, played well. So good stuff from those guys.
I
Better
think it was
ones.
a I think it
Oh,
was a
sorry.
good I think it was a good series.
Oh yeah,
I
for sure.
I would say Misfits kind of struggle in the early game. Or is it more that Don't Press Tab is a very good early game team? Because I could say, since having just faced them, they do perform really well in the early game. I think they may struggle maybe towards the mid and late. Because I would say in the last two series, that's been kind of the story. They perform well in the early game, and then towards the mid to late, they either don't know how to execute fights, team fighting well. So I think maybe team fighting might be one of their biggest struggles.
Mhm,
I know going into like a Swain, the bot lane Swain was kind of tough. Even though Red underperformed in the beginning, he kind of brought it up
mhm.
as the game went through, and obviously Sparks was killing it with Nar. But I think it was a very good game. I think props to Misfits for staying strong mentally and being able to pull out a win after game one, because it did seem a little one sided until outside of just the top lane, of course, because the top lane was one sided Sparks ways. So
Mhm,
I think I am more curious. I think what XD losing it played Vi on game two or game one, and he performed really well. I'm looking at it, he had like 8 kills and everything like that. So I think I would kind of want to see Gargura stay in the mid lane a little more, because especially in our series, he played strictly jungle. But I kind of want to see him in the mid lane.
Is
mm,
there a
okay.
situation you guys think where like these like lane swapping teams can work out? Like, would you prefer to see it maybe like solo lanes, maybe, or like if it's like a top lane mid lane switch, or is there are we thinking like maybe like jungle? You know, because it's always a jungle switch with these two teams in particular. That's what we're seeing, right? Is that like maybe we just don't touch the jungle? Is that like at least from an outside perspective?
Um,
I don't think role swapping is a good idea into this. I mean, you yourself, you role swapped to the top, and you're saying you're just learning all these things now. The thing is, like, other top laners and other jungles and other mid laners and other ADCs already know their roles.
mhm,
Been playing their role for 5+ years. So you have to try to pack in so much information in in just a season, when these guys have been doing this for years. Like like you said, you'll know the little things because you play League for a very long time. So, but
mhm,
the match, like I told Sparks in our interview after the game, like the hardest thing about top lane is matchups. You have to learn matchups. And so, as a jungler, I can see how matchups aren't important, but there's so many other things that are important as a jungler, like
mhm,
knowing lane states, and that if you're coming from a top or mid lane to transition to jungle, then you have a good understanding of what lane states look like. But how about everything else? How about how about ganking versus doing your camps and all that stuff like that? I
mhm,
don't know, and you have to learn that stuff. And you're not gonna out jungle someone who's been playing, or you can, obviously it's possible, but it's unlikely, or there's less probability of you doing it when you're going against someone who's in their natural role. So I
yeah.
am personally not a fan of role swapping.
So, in my opinion, I think the only role swap that would really work is solo laners, and I think the only team that really can do it successfully is maybe Disco Spiders because Pai can literally flex into almost any role, and we've talked about it on Disco Spiders. So, doing the swap from top to mid and mid to top. Um, and I have a background in mid lane, so I know how to play some of these champions in the mid lane. While yes, it's been a minute, I bet I could figure it out pretty quick. It's just rubbing out some grease, cleaning out the pipes. But I don't think role swapping is super great. Just like Injustice said, is like you have to learn all these new things, and with top lane it's really hard because a lot of the time in top lane you are by yourself and it's just a 1v1 for a lot of the game, and so you're trying to find a matchup that works like well with your team, but also helps your lane so you can find a lead in it. So would say role swapping is not super great, especially not with these two teams. At least not yet, until they find some sort of identity that works for maybe both junglers and both ADCs or something like that, right? Until you find that like definitive, like okay, this when we're playing with this set of team or these set of players in these roles, we're gonna play this type of style and so on and so forth.
So XRAY, you get moved to mid lane. Do you think you go toe to toe with the Dandies, Nick? I am Nickus, the Pyrosis. Oh, actually, you're in Pyrosis team. Who else? Gabubi. You think you go toe to toe with these players?
Oh, no, not I don't believe in myself. It's okay, so let me rephrase. I believe in myself, but it's more or less the way Pyrosis plays is very different than the way I would play mid lane. I would say my mid lane is more like setup, where I'll play a control mage and just try to uh, scale through the game. But a lot of these new mid laners, they're learning these early game champions to find a leader in the early game, or a lot of roaming champs. So, and I don't have the knowledge to whether no, it's like okay, I need to either push my lane first or do that. So, like I said, I don't think split pushing is or not split pushing. Uh,
Swap it.
swapping lanes is going to be beneficial for any team until they find that true identity with the set of players in each role. So,
This isn't to attack you, but it was only because like you had mentioned that
mhm,
you've communicated the idea of role swapping, and it's just like that. Like there's top lane is a long lane. It's one of the longest lanes,
mhm.
and mid lane is very short. Like and you're good and being in an island top is a lot different than being in this highway with 30 intersections where everyone comes into your lane and you have to now like adjust to that. And you as a natural top laner, and not just you, I'm talking about just a regular top laner,
Yep.
that's gonna be difficult. So I don't think there's a role that I think maybe the one role that could role swap is support and ADC, because they're playing the same. They
Yeah.
play with each other so much that you kind of understand how that works. I think that's one role that I'm okay with role swapping.
Mm.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
I
thing
can
I'll
I can
just
see
say
that.
in top lane, just to add on to that, it's so lonely. By the way, I don't know how you guys do it. It true, like everyone just like I'm in mid lane, right? So everyone's like are surrounded by me, and I'm like, oh, that's all my buddies. But then top lane's like, guys, where is everyone? Why am I just alone here, getting like slam jammed by Elo dead? What's up? it just
Yeah, I
it's a very isolated position,
I would
honestly.
say before a game, have someone chat with you, and then I just tend to just chat with any friends who sending me a message on their league client. That's how I spend my time top. I
That's
just
fair.
you gotta find something.
uh,
Yeah.
Maybe Minesweeper sometimes, like
Yeah.
when you're waiting on
yeah,
a.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah, yeah,
playing
yeah,
Ornn. You
yeah.
gotta get some games of Masu while you're just farming
I
Ornn.
I'm I just talk to myself because I'm that lonely.
That's
And so, because I'm on the orange, I'm always weak side. So,
yeah,
and so I'm talking to my hammer because um, that's how Orn does. He
yeah.
Orn's
Defend
the
God.
probably the loneliest champion though because he of his backstory. But
Yeah.
he's a good champion. Really annoying to play against, but moving on to the next series, the final series of Week One, Better Learn Spanish versus We Hate Gophers. I unfortunately did not get to catch this game or get to rewatch it because I couldn't find the VOD, but I'm pretty sure it got streamed. We hate Gophers. I know got 2-0'd, but we got the man himself, Injustice. How did those two games go for you guys?
It went as a 2-1.
Oh, 2-1. Sorry, my bad.
Going Gophers side. It was a tough match. I will say this. I hate to admit it because he can be really annoying, but Gabubi, aka PhD Akali, has been really smurfing it his last two series. He has leveled up. I don't know if it's just getting banned from 20 accounts that makes you pop off like he is. I would say that his little intro to the season video was kind of sick. I liked it. I don't know if you guys
That
watched
was
it.
that was good.
It's good.
That
Yeah,
was
it was
good.
very nice. But he kind of made Dandy feel a little ridiculous, and Dandy has his had his he had his reasoning for why it went poorly for him, and he knows that. But that Zed was a problem.
Oh yeah,
That
I
that
forgot
Zed
about the
was a
Zed.
massive problem. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember him playing Zed and absolutely destroying Dandy in the mid lane, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, I mean Gabubi by himself is a menace. I mean from Summit season one, playing on gosh, I don't even remember what my team name was because we'd played so bad. Uh, but I mean, from Summit season one to Summit season two, this guy has been had a serious level up over the break, and yeah, I think I was trash talking We Hate Gophers a little bit preseason, but after these first 2 weeks and how that team has performed, I'm like, wow, wait, this team might be a playoff contender, and so I honestly think from if they keep this up after these 2 weeks, I think this team will make playoffs and make a stand for themselves. So I
I
mean, we'll
think
have to see how they play against Disco Spiders because they're tied with them in first. But yeah,
I think one thing we keep saying I'm noticing is that wow, this team's a playoff contender. This team's a playoff contender. Guys, we've said every single team in this league's a playoff contender,
no,
which is
no, no,
how
no,
it
no.
should be in this league pretty much. Most of them we've talked about are at least we're saying like these are like good playoff contending teams, you know?
One team that I don't think is a playoff contender. I'll say it, Mystic Ninjas. Mystic Ninjas. Don't think they're a
What?
playoff team.
What?
Really?
Don't think they're a playoff team. Do not think
Wow.
they're a playoff team.
They have performed again. They have played. They have surprised me. I think they're actually a very strong team. Um, I think so. I kind of compare Mystic Ninjas to and Setup. I think one because there's a massive difference in rank between us, Asuna and Logic. But I think if those two players level up, if Asuna becomes a better top laner, and I told this to Logic prior to the preseason, I think you said the whole Logic that this team is very, very good, but
Hmm.
that they will perform depending on him. If he levels up as a top laner and starts learning these top laners and learning the matchups and just at least goes even with the top laners in the league, and as well as Asuna, these two guys are very strong. And I think so, like what Sparks is saying is funny but kind of true. I actually do think every team is a playoff contender. I think this is one of the strongest summit seasons we've ever had. I think there's no one true team that's going to run away with the league. And I think everyone is really, really good. I think it's a well balanced drafted team, and it shows. Outside of
Hmm.
the one, I mean, obviously, yes. There's two. There's I think there's now two O's with myself, my
Three.
team, and three.
There's
There's three
three.
now, but I do think those will be there'll be very. There's gonna be a lot of few two O's in my opinion.
Yeah,
Hmm.
unless like mentals like kind of get
Hmm.
blasted. I guess kind of to backtrack just a little bit. We hate Gophers. I know like these are incredibly talented players on We Hate Gophers, but I've known some of the personalities on We Hate Gophers. I think some other people that kind of some can agree. They are they're an eccentric bunch. I think that's the nicest way to put it. And I think it'll be interesting to see if let's say they do lose a series. Let's say like they this like they get outdrafted or something happens unfortunately. Like what happens when the momentum stops, right? How do they handle the
Mm.
possibility of like when things like halt and then you need to kind of work back from square one. Will they do well, or will some of those loud personalities that we've seen in the league and trash talking otherwise kind of show out and kind of muddle things a bit? So they're kind of like a very, I think they're like a very like not flash in the pan, but like they can be a very hot team, and I'm interested to see what happens if
Hot and
they
cold
take
team. Yeah. I mean, again, coming into the season, I thought we hit Gophers was the weakest team. I thought by a lot. Like I thought, yes, Kububi's an amazing mid laner, and yes, Gourmet Cookies is a diamond player in his own right who could probably play top at a decent level. I thought they were going to be very weak, but they have massively impressed in both of their series.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it's like until they like lose, right? They might just stay hot throughout the entire series. I mean, we'll see. It's one of those things that we're at the beginning of the season. It's kind of the fun part. We get to kind of see how teams kind of grow and evolve. And
Hmm.
I think I this is a team I think for a lot of people they should keep an eye on for sure because they're very
Or may
flashy.
or maybe
Uh
Gabubi has done the impossible and
huh.
become a normal human being
Oh.
with a strong mental. We'll see. We'll see.
Whoa.
We'll see what
I
happens.
think you're asking. I think you're asking a lot for this man.
I don't know. Maybe
Uh,
we beat him game two and he was fine game three. We thought when we won game two of that series, game three would have been a breeze, and then that PhD Akali would have imploded.
mhm.
But Gourmet Cookies and Gabubi are two characters, strong personalities, who I thought would clash, and maybe they will later into the season, or maybe they'll just continue to strive. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a bit too early to like really make a prediction about this team yet, just because like
Mhm.
yes they're finding that success, but yeah, like you guys said, what if they lose like a series? Like what if they get 2-0'd? It's like what happens then? Is the mental gonna drop? Is someone gonna be like, all right, I'm done with this team, I'm leaving? We've seen that some to some players. So we'll see. Um, but we'll just see how the next couple weeks go for We Hate Gophers. I think overall, I think they have been performing really well, and I think this team is going to surprise a lot of us. Because a lot of us were doubting this team because like of mental wise, just overall over history. So, but I'm really excited about this team. I'm really excited about Better Learn Spanish. And speaking of it, let's go hop into week 2 of Summit Season 2. Better Learn Spanish versus Don't Press Tab. Better Learn Spanish cleaned up. Well, let's talk about game 1 first. So, Injustice, what were your thoughts going through after the Akshan was like 6-0 in the mid lane?
I kid you not. I think the first 10 minutes of that game were the worst 10 minutes in Summit history. I think we got
For one team? Is that what
I
you're saying?
think in history, there was no team who performed more poorly than we did in those first 15 minutes. But
Yeah.
in the next 20 minutes, there's no team in Summit history that performed better than what we did. So it was a roller coaster. Honestly, I big shout outs to my entire team. And I after game one, I told the guys, "Hey, all right, it's we won. That's great. Let's try to clean up our early game, and let's not replicate what happened game one." But at the end of that series, I told my guys, I said, "Good fucking shit. You know how
Hell yeah.
hard it is for five players to perform so poorly in the beginning and keep the mental strong enough to come back from." I don't know what the goal lead was, but I'm assuming they were at least up 5K or
It
more.
was I think it was like 6K or
Yeah,
something like that.
it was pretty bad.
Like, big shout out to Woojin for shot calling. Big shout out to Dowsing to making opportunities happen throughout the entire game. We each had a role moving on to the game, and we tried to like stick to it as much as possible. If you see throughout the game, me and Dowsing pretty much jumped on their back line and made sure they were relevant as possible, while Nightmare and Dandy and Woojin just cleaned up.
Yeah.
So I think we did well. I think High Cosmo hit me up afterwards. I had a lot of people hit me up afterwards. Proton Plat player, High Cosmo, and a couple other people talking about like, "Wow, congrats! like it was a big game and whatnot. And I think when they asked me what was your like plan, I was like, one of the biggest plans, and I think Woojin called this out, is like we need this Drake. Like our the second Drake, I think the second Drake had just popped up, and I said, we get this Drake, we buy each other 5 more minutes because the drag it'll stop their
Mhm.
dragon stacking and it'll buy us 5 more minutes because we knew that our comp performed better in the late game with Aphelios, Cassiopeia, and then we had the Ariana as well. Like
Yeah.
so, we just focused on that, and ironically enough, we just kept on winning team fights after that one Drake. So we just slowly tried to build each other back up, and it worked out. I was so proud. I was so stoked. I think we could have lost the first 2 games, and I wouldn't really cared because like game one was just it meant so much, honestly.
So in my personal opinion, seeing the way you describe Better Learn Spanish, that's everything you want to hear from your team, right?
Mhm.
I think some of the best teams in the league that we've seen in the past, they're teams that specifically like the one major thing is that they trust each other. Like there's a deep level of trust in we're going to perform like this, even through thick and thin. We follow each other. Like if we all have to, if your teammate jumps off a cliff, you're jumping off with them. You're at least making the same plays together. It's better to have a team that is working as a cohesive unit, even if like let's say like it ends up being the wrong play, but they work together in that direction, than multiple people being like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, yada yada yada. And hearing that's just it's one of the things you want to like see from a team, and
Mhm.
that's sick in my eyes.
I think that this is. I love that you said that because like that's always been my quote. Like it's better for 5 people to commit to the wrong play than only one person commit to the wrong play because the success in that one person committing to the right play is so much lower than 5 people committing to the wrong play.
Mhm.
Like this is a team game. Like yes, like the first 15 minutes can be individual, but League of Legends is a team game, and watch it. Like when we go into these competitive matches, like you could see, you truly see League of Legends as a whole.
The person who taught me that mindset, it's actually a person on your team. It's your support, Woojin, Boise, I
Woojin.
believe he goes by now. He probably doesn't remember it, but it was a tournament, and like we were struggling, and we had a similar situation where we came back from being down so far. And it's like, I don't know, when I see like a team like that has like Daniel on it, like this the star player, shot caller kind of thing. I kind of expect that team, even through like the kind of the weeds of it, the through the thick of it, they'll find a way to like try to get back into the game. Like he's someone who truly like embodies like a never give up like kind of
Mm.
mentality, which is what you want out of your teammates. Like honestly,
We
Yeah.
always say in Wujin we trust. That is our saying.
exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've first off, shout out to Dandy for having I think the strongest mental out of your whole team that game. I like no joke, getting absolutely dumpstered 4 times in a row. Get a 4-man mid. I was like, poor Dandy. I feel so bad for him. But shout out to him for having the strongest mental I think I've ever seen out of a
Absolutely.
man and performing well. So props to him. And Woojin, I'm not gonna lie. I call him my league advisor because I go for any, like if I have any league questions, I always go to that guy and I always ask him about stuff. And like he's the reason why I started playing top lane and why I'm here now, to why I'm here right now. The solo bolo king. Everyone knows me as that. So, and yeah, shout out to Woojin. Shout out to so many people in Summit because I love Summit so much because Summit has so much support of players, people, people who didn't even play the game, and people that come watch us. There's just so much support, and I'm gonna give a huge shout out to Sporadic, and MG Pity. I can't think of her name right now, but congrats to them to getting engaged, and awesome. I'm so happy for them, and I I just love the support because everyone shows so much support. Because like even when someone like ranks up to like the next rank, like Emerald 4 or Silver 4, they're like, "Hey, yo, good job, man, good job." It's just this this uh this server is awesome and this league is amazing, and I'm glad I'm part of it.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of just wonderful people. Just exactly what you
mhm,
said. A lot of really good people. People that are willing to help coach you. People are willing to like kind of keep an eye out for you. Like you treat people with respect in this server, like a lot of people just give it right back and more. Like it's easy to make friends. It's kind of an
Hmm.
awesome thing. That's what I love most about Summit. It's so easy to just like I can go like I like see GG's after a game and then I'll have like a 10-minute conversation with someone about like just like League and just like chilling.
Hmm.
It's just a nice environment, very warm and friendly.
Yeah.
They
It's
have a nice trash
it's
talk.
awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, trash talk. Clearly, there's plenty of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, great time. I think
Yeah.
after 3 years, it's an amazing server and it's grown a lot. So,
If
but
it's
yeah.
okay to kind of segue back into that series though with Better in
Hmm.
Spanish, we had to think on like the flip side too. Like if we like flip over the coin to don't press tab, like if that's okay to at least to like talk about it, it's got
No,
to be
yeah.
difficult to be up so much and then kind of have to like mental reset. Like if you lose a game like that where we're in a lead, like it's tough for a lot of teams to kind of get back
Hmm.
into form after that. When you have a game that you expect to win and then it just like falls like right out of your hands, right? It just feels like you had it and then you just fumble the ball. It can kind
Hmm.
of be like a snowball effect. I'm hoping like don't press tab. I'm hoping it's not like a kind of a recurring situation where like the second game because the second game it was rough for don't press tab after such a intense like kind of flash start for the first game. I'm
Hmm.
Yeah.
hoping in like future like if like that first game doesn't go well, they can make the adjustments needed to at least keep it competitive, right?
Hmm.
Um, that's kind of at least my hope with don't press tab because it's yeah again they've had their issues so far that we've seen in the first 2 weeks.
And I would say that, the early game one, we made some mistakes, but it was more about, sorry, it was more about them playing exceptionally well. They, God, using volleys ult to dive me, they dove almost anybody and everyone, and the rotations were clean. It wasn't more. It was a little bit of our mistake, but more of their tempo. They took their tempo and they ran with it. I think it was just got to the point where there was one. I mean, again, I think High Cosmo and Sunny Blues and more of the people, many people in the chat stated there's just that our comp was better fit to team fight for objectives
Hmm.
than there was. So
I.
I think they're great. I
Mhm.
do think they need to fix a couple things, and mostly, like I said a while back, is just I think they have to fix their mid and late game, and maybe that's learning how to team fight better as a group. I mean, it's their first time playing together. It's only their second game, first and second game, so it's like
Mhm.
that maybe it's just need more time to learn how to team fight together.
I'm actually gonna compare to don't press tab to one of Rob's teams from season 4 of La Liga, uh, Zhangxi Wudai, uh, which honestly I think this team Don't Press Tab has a very similar playstyle from Zhangxi Wudai, except you have a lot of upgrades, I think, in my opinion. So you have, well, yes, I would say you kind of, I don't want to say downgrade on support, but you have a lower rank support, so that's just a little different, which I think is fine. Rob can play with pretty much any support. But you have a really good mid laner who can play those carry champions, and you have a jungler who can also play similar styles with Jix. And then, top lane, Brissy, pretty much just downgraded XRAY just a little bit, plays the Ornn, that's all you need. But, I think this team has a lot of room to grow and improve. Like you guys said, I think this team we're gonna say it again. This team it can still make playoffs. I think any team can make playoffs. Like you guys said, I think this
Except
team
Mystic
though,
Ninjas, right? You said no to Mystic Ninjas.
no to
We'll
Mystic
probably get back to
Ninjas.
them when we talk about the
Oh,
series with them for sure.
trust me,
Oh,
trust me.
for
I have so many hot takes that I'm not saying, and it's Mystic Ninjas, which oh nope, they're not next. Okay, we'll talk about them later. But
yeah.
yeah, I think don't press tab. I think they're a really good team. I think I kind of that's why I'm kind of comparing them to Zhangxi Wudai because they have a very similar um like player setup is what I want to say, but they have upgrades and jungle and mid in my opinion, and but they have a downgraded support, which is fine. Rob can still play exceptionally well on him, and they did play well in uh, game one. So in first 10 minutes. So, but I think this team still needs to learn a couple things, grow, and yeah.
I think
Speaking
there's
of
plenty of room for them to grow for sure.
for sure. Yeah, moving on to the next game. GG versus Misfits. Goofy Gophers versus Misfits. Man, game one.
So
I'm Nikus. Vlad, he's scary. That guy was
so
scary.
So in draft, in my defense for getting absolutely slam dunked that first game, so I'm a mid laner, right? So I think back to mid lane matchups, and I'm like, wow, mid lane matchups. It's like ding ding ding, and I saw the Vlad pick. I was like, oh, I actually have a champ I like playing Vlad into. Like I like Yone into Vlad. It's a champ. It's a matchup I'm comfortable with personally.
Mhm.
Playing mid lane for so long, and that's kind of one of the things we talked about in the past, like when you have a lot of background experience. But
Mhm.
Renekton, now that's a whole different story with matchups. When I saw the switcher, I was like, oh god, I've been bamboozled. This is not what I'm looking for. And again, as you said, I'm Nick is performing on the Vlad. Vladimir's one of my favorite champions to play. For people that have seen me play in like previous Summit seasons, I love Vlad. And so seeing this Vladimir play, it was amazing. It was awesome. I was like, wow, this guy's incredible. We already knew this mid laner in particular was incredible.
So Injustice, can you help our boy Sparks out and what to look out versus the Renekton matchup? Uh,
Don't pick,
it,
don't pick Yon. Don't pick
If
Yon.
it wasn't for the crocodile, I guarantee you that. When I saw
That
the
is,
crocodile, I was like, this is about to be the worst day of my entire life.
I think Renekton shits on Yon
I don't think
so
it's
hard.
close. I don't think it's remotely
Yeah,
close. I think the fact that I was like one auto away on that one fight was just because of that extra dagger and no other reason. And oh god,
yeah, it
oh,
I this series Goofy Gophers 2-0 versus Misfits,
that
which
was
is
2-1.
2-1. Oh, my
We'll take game
apologies.
two. No worries.
Apparently I'm not acquainted. I did a
No
bunch of
worries.
research this morning, but I didn't have my notes ready. I didn't take any notes because who needs notes? I have my brain. But no,
do you?
honestly,
Do you?
I pretty much just make the script and that's it. I don't have time to make notes. So, but yeah, honestly, I am Nikus showing up on the Vlad was like 7-0, like 20 minutes into the game, and it was just running people down. He was like, I don't care. I'm just gonna kill all of them. I still have pool up. So I mean, props to him for
I,
absolutely smurfing it.
I
I'm biased,
remember.
of course, but I gotta give bias to my team if you don't mind me saying injustice.
Sir.
I appreciate MHD making the adjustment game two against the Syndra matchup. I forgot the champion it was exactly. He played it both in game two and game three. But then again, props to Nikus, who in the middle of that, like you play the same matchup twice, right? And the way it changed, it was like so dynamically different. Like I remember like hearing like, wow, like I'm Nick is just like he's got it down pretty much. It was the same matchup as well, which is just again props to him for being able to make an adjustment on a exact same matchup. Like not a lot of players can do that. It sounds like a simple thing, but being able to play like the exact same like lane setup like so differently between games, that's like it takes skill genuinely to play
Hmm.
like such a versatile play style. Honestly,
Hmm. Yeah, I think I think I mean Goofy Gophers after week one, getting 2-0'd by Disco Spiders, they showed up in a big way week two, I think something like Elo Dead, I am Nikus, those guys were just like, "Oh, time to turn our brains on." Didn't know if we didn't know we needed to turn our brains on yet, but so turned on their brains and were like, "Oh, yep, we got it. We got the dub." And props to them, Um, and Misfits, I mean, I
Also,
think
shout outs to OT Gator for being the biggest fanboy. And so, anytime one of his boys plays, did it with Elo Dad, did it with them. He just goes on. He goes on on trash talk and
it's nice to
just
have a fan,
goes
man.
in. I want a fan. I'm
Yeah,
just saying, I want a fan.
it'd be sick to have fans.
I I I have a lot of fans. Every time I get a solo kill, they just like, "Oh, he's got another one in the bag." It's
We said fans, not only fans.
oh.
Yeah, your OnlyFans don't count.
Oh, hang on. I need to check my OnlyFans real quick. Gotta clip my solo bolo versus Joe today, or yesterday. And speaking of solo kills on
Mhm.
Joe, Disco Spiders versus Asterios Bonobos. Disco Spiders take a 2-1 win over Asterios Bonobos. And now, the
Hmm.
first team I want to talk about is Asterios Bonobos. This team, I think, so its weakest link is Dragon Tooth, and I in the week one game, which we'll talk a little bit about, Galio, Lissandra, they played really well. Uh, but Dragon Tooth, um, I think if he's not on when he's playing against some of these higher tier mid laners, I don't think he's gonna find that much success. And like the mid laner, like we saw in these three games, the mid laner and the jungler abused him so much and find early leads in the mid lane, excuse me, and transitioned their lead throughout the rest of the games. And it's scary. It was scary to see how bad Dragon Tooth was getting beat, and unfortunately, that's just how it works in Summit. You have a weak link in the mid lane or jungle or something like that, and you unfortunately are going to get abused. And
And
I think the only lane that doesn't really get abused that much, depending on who they're playing, is top lane. But we've also seen top lane get destroyed on. But we'll have to see how Dragon Tooth and Asterios Bonobos can find that rhythm that works for them, and hopefully they can get a couple of dubs in the next coming weeks.
I think the bonobos are an interesting situation. So in mid lane, normally, you want your mid lane to be kind of like an anchor, if you will. Like they're able to roam, they're able to keep up good wave management, and having their weak link be in the like from ranking wise be in the mid lane. That's like in my opinion, at least playing the role for a while. That's a pivotal role to have to kind of like force on a support champion like a Galio and Karma, and like while he is performing on able to play that supportive role. It's kind of a little bit different when you're able to like perform as a unit because junglers and mid laners they can work very well cohesively and cause a lot of problems into other lanes, side lanes when they get going. But and for the bonobos, they kind of have to like switch up the style a bit. They have to kind of play more like centric towards like the jungle and then like having really strong lanes in the bot lane. And so if bot lane's not getting resources, it kind of creates problems. But as we saw in the Disco Spider series, like it's pretty much like getting like a massive like ram and just sending it straight down mid lane. It's almost like a problem you like can't avoid pretty much. And I think we saw that kind of get exposed. But they did take a game in the series, which I think just shows like how impressive these guys can be when they're
Hmm.
uh, in sync. But it's definitely something that they'll need to work on as like kind of like team play and how to play around this point that it seems a lot of teams kind of realize, hey, this is a possible point of, I guess, abuse that we could do. But
Hmm.
well, I think they'll be able to adapt well once they kind of practice more.
It's kind of like having a car with really nice wheels, a really nice paint job. You have arrows and everything, and then your engine is just shit.
I actually like that annihilation because I I feel like honestly they have the only time now this is gonna be another hot take. The only time I've seen this team really perform well is it when Morn is on J4. Um, you know, we saw week one, Morn absolutely destroyed and set up in their game. And then this week, they J4 got picked for Morn, and he just kind of ran down Disco Spiders in the late game. Disco Spiders had an early lead. With XRAY getting two kills before lane. By the way, they tried that early invade. Um, which it wasn't streamed, so I'll share what I can. But yeah, Asterios Bonobos went for a invade game two. They failed it. X-Ray got two kills in the top lane. I think we got one other kill. But it hurt them in the early game, but they did find the win in game two and found the momentum to try to win that game back. And it was a couple misplays by, uh, the bot lane and X-Ray giving away his 650 gold shutdown. And it was a little bit unfortunate, but Joe's Hose had the momentum and found the win in game two, which is a bit unfortunate. But that happens. Game three though. I got the solo kill. That's
Yeah.
what matters.
But yeah, just to kind of piggyback off your point
Yeah.
with the Asteria's team, since we didn't get to talk about them with the week one matchup, I think when Orn's playing, or Morn, sorry, is playing
Hmm.
a very hyper aggressive jungler, that could kind of immediately become like a problem. Like I am like everywhere, I can do stuff. It also helps that Jarvid right now, thanks to Riot's infinite wisdom of buffing Spear Shojin as always. Round of applause to them. They've made my life in top lane hell. I just got here. But
Yeah,
champions that are able to benefit from it are definitely running the meta right now.
I don't
Personally,
think Camille's ever getting played. I don't
I
think
think
anyone's gonna let Camille through, especially against Darius Bonobos, especially with the Sojin buffs.
yeah. I'm still waiting on those nerfs, right? Still
Yeah.
any day now.
Hey, Riot, I need some nerfs ASAP.
Yeah,
And then can you actually buff Ornn? So he literally it literally says can't die is like his unique passive. That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Thank you,
We should
Riot.
tap that on.
Just that's just a personal opinion as an Ornn player.
Yeah. But kind of
But
getting back into it with
yeah.
Asteria again. I as someone who's been on a team with Korai, the ADC Asteria,
Mhm.
and made it to finals with them. I got faith. I have faith in them that they'll be able to come back. He's a very mechanically good player. He's got good people that are very calm and collected now, like Kanga in the top lane, who's able to kind of like steer ship well. I'm assuming Morn's the same way, but I haven't interacted with Morn. But
Mhm.
from the way he's playing with such confidence, I'm assuming it's a similar situation. I think they can. They'll be right back on track. But they did play against, in my opinion, one of the stronger teams in the league. Disco Spiders. Again, you guys show up, especially that Sulpan Pyrosis duo. It's a
Yeah.
very insane situation you got going on there.
And yeah, just talk about game three real quick.
Hmm.
I get the Ornn. I solo kill Joe. That's all that matters. But we're good. So we're 2 for 2 for solo bolo kills. In the top
How
lane.
do we always find a way to bring it back to you, X-Ray?
Because Disco Spiders. I got. But I'm not the
Injustice, we
star of the
could lose
team.
the series, but we just can't get solo
we
killed. We
Can't.
can lose
Yeah.
the
we
series. We'll AFK
fuck
behind the
that
tower.
shit.
We can't
Exactly.
get solo killed. I
Listen.
don't want to be on a poster.
No,
Listen. If
I
I.
already told X-Ray I'm beating the shit out of him when I face him.
Oh. Okay. Um. But yeah. No. I have a goal, and well, more or less, Woojin kind of gave me a goal for this season, and is to solo kill every top laner, or get a solo bolo on every top laner at least once. So far, 2 for 2. Next week, DB4P gonna be a little bit of a challenge, I think, just because we have so similar champ pools. So we'll kind of see how that goes.
David's like the
Uh,
wall of the league, so I wish you the best of
yeah.
luck.
So we'll see. We'll see. Can Extra go 3 for 3? We'll see in the next week. No, I'm joking. We're not gonna end it early, but yeah, I think game three. I mean, Zaya mid double ADC comps. Is this the new meta?
To
Is
be
this the new
completely
meta?
honest, if you have a Galio and you're able to see it's a Galio, and then you have literally the whole ocean of AD champions to kind of choose from, and Zaya was a perfect choice. I mean, because what's Galio gonna do? He ease in, he gets feathered to the hell and back. I mean, the matchups, in my opinion, that's unwinnable. Brings you back to just top lane matchups. It's just that one's very one-sided. Pyrosis has such a unique champion pool. He can do everything, but to such a high level.
Hmm.
It's it's like any kind of trick you need out of the book, he can pull it out for the situation.
Is he like
And
a miniature
that showed up.
faker? He's like a miniature
Uh
faker.
yeah, I guess we can call it. What was the you were using the analogy of Adrian Peterson before? It's like budget faker, I guess is
The poor man.
Yeah.
He's a poor
yeah,
man's
poor man's
faker. Poor
faker.
Poor
man's
Yeah.
faker.
poor man's faker, bro.
Which is
Like,
crazy considering Pyrosis is definitely one of the best mid laners in the league.
yeah. Can't believe Kate, so much dog ranked him like third overall. I was like, man's being slept on. But
You
I
gotta
think
see
he,
it in action, right?
yeah. But well done. I mean, Pyros' early lead in the mid lane, was like 3-0 at like 5 minutes or something like that. It was absolutely. It was the Pyrosis game. It was like, yep, we're we're helping Pi win the game. So, and that's what happened. We had a couple of misplays, especially in the bot lane dive against Asteria. We still got them, but they all died. It was like a 3v1, and they all died. And I was like, how? we're kind of running it down, and I was like, surely we don't throw this lead, guys, right? Surely. So yeah, I mean, we'll see if Asterios Bonobos can find that momentum to bring him back. And Disco Spiders, maybe they'll just win the whole league because they're fine. They have that. They know what they need to do, and they're performing really well. So maybe we'll probably see them in playoffs. They're playing well, and I'm excited about this team because I'm on the team. And yeah. Uh, moving on, and setup versus corporate budget cuts. Corporate budget cuts. It's a bit unfortunate. They took another loss. And this is a team where on paper I think is a really great team, and like we said, it's like has some really good players, but the problem is I think they're just swapping too much. I think from game to game they're swapping. So like game one, they did lose versus and setup. We saw the Graves PPP. You know what? I'm just gonna say it right now. PPP. I don't know why you built Static Shiv on
I'm
Graves.
glad we talked about it now because I
I
think we know history with Proton Plat player, right? And we know that he's been known for I guess the nicest way to put it is unorthodox builds. The justification he does give, but I think sometimes you just need to go back to standard. But I understand this is kind of one of the things he's known for. But
mhm.
yeah, it was a
Well,
trip to watch. That's for
we'll
sure.
just leave it at that for Triple P for that
Mhm.
game. I think.
No, we won't. Because
Oh,
I was waiting. I
all
was
right.
waiting for this subject.
Injustice.
I was
Let's
waiting
hear
for this
it. Let's
subject.
hear it. Injustice.
Listen, at what point? I think this probably was mentioned in Trash Talk. At what point is this just trolling? Going static shit. I
Hmm.
get it. I
Hmm.
just don't know. I can't even say I get it. I don't get it. I don't get static shifts on Grays. Grays already has a great clear speed. Why are you going static shift? On top of that, it's just it hurts. And then I know this is like a this is a like this is like loaded Voldemort. You just don't say it. You don't talk about it. But I'm done. I'm done silencing myself.
Oh boy.
I'm done silencing. I what like imagine being corporate budget right there, where this team is this game is so close. It was a nail biter. Are we just gonna disagree that a properly built Graze may actually turn the tide and win you this game?
So
I wouldn't disagree with that.
when I saw the nude quiver, I was like, okay. I mean, maybe he's going like shield bow or like Kraken. I was like, okay. I mean, I would go lethality of this game just because there's no tanks. You'll probably just one shot any person. So I definitely agree. But when I saw the static shiv, I was like, oh no, no PPP. It's not. You can't do it. We gotta. And yeah, I agree. I think static shiv was the. I have no
You're
filter.
you're
It's the troll build. God damn it! It was
Uh,
stupid, and that was
you're fucking
incorrect.
up. You're fucking up your rest of your team. Again, being those other four players, and I've been on the other end of these things. I was there when he built Frozen Gauntlet on Zeri. Like I've been in these situations, and it's not fun because unless the personalities. I mean, even heck, what he did last. I'm going to the fucking black hole here.
it's just so we're not like killing Proton Plat. I do want to say this: Proton Plat player, in my humble opinion, is a very mechanically sound player. Like I think he's got the mechanics down, like for sure, definitely. If you watch like gameplay from him, he's very good. The builds, how do I put this? That's the thing I
Sparks is
mentioned
the
with
only one
both.
who has a filter right now.
No,
I just want to I want to
I
put it in a
agree with
way
him.
that makes sense here. Trust. I mentioned it with Better Learn Spanish, right? Trust is like one of the most important things with a team. If you
Yeah.
have a player like Proton Plat player who is building unorthodox in ways that is making you doubt if they're going to be able to perform because they're building in such a way that the team wouldn't be able to agree with. And now we don't know the situation there. We don't know the comms or what the comms are like. If they're like, we're
Mhm.
on board with you, or if they're like, hey man, what the hell are you doing? Right? And we don't know
Mhm.
their internal situation. But assuming they're as surprised as us when we see these things, that lowers trust in your teammates, and that is such a big crux. If you don't trust your teammates, you don't want to like go into situations with them where you have to fight in like these long team fights and you have to work together and communicate. It like slowly kind of like breaks down things. That's kind of
Mm.
the, I think, my biggest issue with seeing someone as talented as Proton Pot player making these decisions. It just uh until I see it like their team is able to like back it up, like it's games like those where it's just harbors back to old seasons. That's the best way I can describe it, and it's just a glaring concern on top of the lane swapping situation that
Mhm.
I think needs to be watched with corporate budget cuts. But I know there's also very calm and good personality, like I shouldn't say good, but calm and like level-headed personalities like David that's there and Giuseppe, and so maybe they're on board with it, but we'll see as the season goes if this becomes like a crux for this particular team. That's I think the best way I can communicate it.
And I agree with you. I think, and I want us to, because I kind of I've gone on in on him, but I've said this to before. I've said this to him, and I've said it to anyone who asks me the question. Proton Plat player is not even mechanically gifted because he is. Like he's a very good. He's probably like if he decides to build correctly, he is probably a top four or better ADC. He can go toe to toe with almost anyone in this league at the position.
Mm.
But I don't know who he's trying to prove this to. I don't know. I know that everyone says it's a meme, but I just drop the ego, let it go, and just play for your team, play for the win. And
Mhm.
I'm sure in some way, like he's building incorrectly, but he's still trying his hardest. But
Mm.
stop handicapping yourself.
Mm.
It's like it's like that one Naruto scene. I haven't seen Naruto, but I know the one scene where you get the weights off and you just drop
Oh,
them. It's
Rock
like,
Lee.
yeah,
Yeah,
Or
Rock Lee dropping the weights. This might be a situation where he drops the weights, he gets rid of the build
I
handicaps, and
love
suddenly
that
he
annihilation.
skyrockets.
Actually, I love
Yeah.
that. I, listen, I'm gonna mention myself again, just because I had that one. I have a similar situation of like where people were like kind of making fun of me. But I think until it happens, so what was it, like season 2 or 3? I think it was season 2 where I didn't buy boots. Uh, and I didn't win because I didn't buy boots. But then like the next season, like game one, uh, or like I think we weren't playing best of threes at the time. But like we played the first game and of the season, and I won the game without buying boots. And I was like, hey, it's possible, guys. I won the game without boots. And until I think a build, like a random build of Proton Plat players that is unorthodox and works and wins the game, I think until that happens, people are still gonna be talking about it until
but it has happened. He has
it
won
has.
games. He's
Yep.
won again for when we played it with Zeri with Frozen Gauntlet. We won that game hard. I think the solution might be we just stop talking about it, and eventually this meme dies away, and he'll probably focus on, or maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But I'm done
On
talking
Rock
about
Lee.
it.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
I want to
We'll
segue
move
though, if
on.
that's okay. I
Y-
want to segue to specifically end setup, if that's okay, because we
Yeah,
completely
no,
skipped
yeah,
over
and
them.
set up and set up. This is the other team that we didn't mention about week one, but
Hmm.
this team, week one had a really strong showing, fell short, but still got the win. But this week had a really strong showing against corporate budget cuts. Game 2 and 3, they showed up and they had a really strong showing through those whole games. I think um, game 2 it wasn't even close. I think it was one-sided pretty much for uh, and setup, and I think game 3 was a really close match. Uh, but
Um, we
I
kind of
can't remember
I want to
everything.
add on to that point if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest strengths with Ant setup is definitely their lanings. Like all their lanes are very like they're the solid players, and some are exceptionally like beyond just like a average laner. Like he got set up in logics. Like two players who played in the mid lane against each other. I was tussling out with them, and in my personal opinion, they were both better than me. They were the two people I looked up to as like these are the people I would have to beat in mid lane. And now seeing like set up in mid lane and logic being in this opportunity to go into the top lane, also role swap. Logic, I hope you're doing better than me in this identity crisis I'm going through. Um, there, Logic's showing that he's an exceptional like laner. Game three, his Gwen. Oh my god! I mean, it's the right matchup. Obviously, it's the perfect matchup you want
Yeah.
with Gwen. But being able to capitalize that in such a way, Logic's like showing his mechanical talent is just like it's insane. And setup obviously is setup. I don't know if we need to even talk some like more about it. But in game
Legend
three, where setup,
himself.
yeah, game three setup was like kind of in a rough position. He had got kind of like hammered a bit, but another person, Logic, in that situation was able to kind of pick up the slack a little bit and was able to kind of carry that game. And that's, I think, the strength of and Setup's team. Cosmo, Setup, and Logic all play very well, and then Baratel is able to benefit those three lanes and Fleas, of course, in the support. But Baratel's kind of acts as a glue. I guess that's the best way I can put it. You need someone to kind of like bring the mold together, and that's what Baratel's designed for. Now, it's not as proactive as some of the other like junglers, but I think it fits the role that's needed personally.
Mhm. Yeah, and setup. Honestly, um, this is another team that I'm really hesitant to say if it's a playoff team. But from its first 2 weeks, I think this team is actually a playoff team now. So initially, I was like, I don't know if this team is actually going to make playoffs. But with these last 2 weeks and how uh, the whole team has been performing, I was like, wow, this team is actually, a very good possible playoff team. And I think, um, after this last series, week two series, it was really well played by them, and they had really good lanings, like you said, and they could find the momentum back into some of these games. And so I'm really excited about this team. I'm really excited about Corbin Budge Cuts. I just think Corbin Budge Cuts just needs to find that momentum back into their swing, try to find what works, what doesn't work, trying to find that identity as a lot of these teams are still trying to figure out, but some of them have found it and have found the success. Um, Anyways, we're gonna move on to the next game, the final game of week two. We Hate Gophers versus Mystic Ninja Cyclones. I know it was streamed, but I was playing a game during the game and I could not find the VOD. So I just know We Hate Gophers 2-0 Mystic Ninjas. I did watch a little bit of game one. I know Nefiri got picked for Gabubi and it was versus Lysandra. Uh, I will say Mystic Ninjas have a really good communication. And listening to their team talk, it's very good and uh, a lot better than some of the other teams that I've heard had like comms with. It's very good, and I think this. While yes, I did say this team is not going to be a playoff team. I just don't think this team can compete with some of these other teams. Oh, I just please hold. All right, there we go. That's gonna be in for sure as a mess up. I just fucked up the overlay on the stream. You guys can't see it. My co-host can't see it, but I messed up. But it's okay. We're still going, and yeah, hey, hey.
Uh,
Anyways, sorry. Go ahead, Sparks.
I want to go into the defense of Mystic Ninja Cyclones. I know Injustice will probably agree with me as well. I personally think this is a playoff contending team. Now, again, all the teams are playoff contending teams. But let me, like, I guess, give my reasoning as to why I think Mystic Ninja Cyclones is good. They have this ADC player. I had never seen them before. Is this their first time in the league, or is this like the season before
Yes.
when I wasn't playing?
So I
First time in the
think
league.
I think
Okay.
Thim played in the
Face-off
uh
tournament. That's the
yeah
only time he's ever played.
yeah, I think that's the only time he's been played in Summit or La Liga. So he is technically a rookie.
And this is not one of those like how do I put it? This isn't one of those players that's like oh like it's someone who can go toe to toe with the top like ADCs. Like this person can like take over games against like top ADCs and like just like any of the ADCs really. Like I think them is like a big like focal point that they can play around, which
Mm.
is huge for their team. And going into their top laner, it's Asuna, I believe,
Yep.
with them. And Asuna's playstyle, it kind of reminds me when I was a very young little Sparks, uh, way before even like La Liga. I played a lot of like the Yasuo Yone champions, but Asuna is like has like a similar like playstyle of like I think Logic, who's like someone who still embodies that kind of personality and play style. And it's very like feast or famine top laner, which sounds bad on paper, but with Ranger being the jungler that he is, being such a like I would think one of the most hyper proactive junglers like in the league, like being on his team before in the past, while we were like that team was a disaster. That was I think La Liga season 1. The one good thing we had on the team was Ranger, which is Arturo. He is a incredibly like hyperactive jungler. I think he will like kind of bring the momentum and tempo that this team needs in order to compete with some of these other teams that we've been talking about in the past. They're very like they can go fast. They can like push leads and they can accelerate. I think their capabilities to snowball, I think, is will be like one of their great strengths,
Hmm.
personally.
I saw. I also had. I remember. I was in game before the start of that game. I think they're, but or I think I was practicing probably something like that. I was busy for the game, but I was looking at it. Asuna performed really well. In the first 15 minutes, he was hyper fed on his set. I don't know how it happened, so I wasn't able to watch it. Um, but I was happy to see him pick. Set's not strong right now, but he has at least not competitively, but he performed well. And I think again, like Tim said,
Hmm.
on the other side of the lanes, they're very strong. Nitro Azul has shown that he can go toe to toe with most people. Tim is a top ADC. I think that's undebatable.
Hmm.
You have Lord Tubby, who is an exceptional, and he'll he'll probably hit me up after this. Uh, he's a exceptional support. Like good. I would even say he's better than Alturas. And so making him the top support.
Whoa. Hot take.
Uh,
Hot take.
I don't think it's that hot personally. I think Alturas is a great support. I played with both. Um, and if I had to choose one, I'm kind of going. I'm kind of leaning toward Tubby.
Okay.
And
Okay.
again, it's just and Ranger. Took a season off. He's back on. There's obviously some growing pains. I see him. He missed a couple Sedge W's, um, and a couple ults, and that happens. That happens to everybody. But this team is strong. And again, like I said a while at the beginning of this podcast, it all lands on one person, and that's Asuna. Asuna needs to level up, and if they does level up, they're gonna perform well.
Yeah.
They're
Hmm.
gonna make the playoffs.
Uh, I just to go back though. I mean, in this situation, this particular series, in that feast or famine, they got consumed by the We Hate Gophers. At the end of the day, we had mentioned it before. With We Hate Gophers,
Oh yeah, that's right.
this team's hot. They're really hot. They did get the 2-0 sweep on the Mystic Ninja Cyclones. And while we do, sing the praises of that Mystic Ninja Cyclones can get the playoffs, we've seen here that a team that has such strong, like, I guess, personalities and play styles are able to, I guess, overwhelm them.
Hmm.
Best way to say it.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I don't really have anything else to say about We Hate Gophers or Mystic Ninja Cyclones. I think. They were playing Singe top lane. Cookies was playing Singe top lane. That was
Yeah, he was.
unique. It was unique.
I, I think people need to remember the number one rule about laning against Singe: don't chase. They
Don't chase
chase.
Singed.
I
Don't
forget.
chase Singe.
I
They.
feel like people forget that. I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
It's like
I don't. I
playing
don't know if
Tetris.
there was a one. There was one. There's one fight where they continued to chase Singe, and he's just shredding their HP to the point, and then they eventually kill him, of course. But he's almost has every player in 10% HP, and he's wasted their time, and his team is just getting gold somewhere else. So stop chasing Singe. Just,
If you gain
just
anything
stop.
from this podcast, just don't chase
Just
Singed.
stop.
Just go with your
Just
dreams
don't
and
chase
madness.
Singed.
That's the one thing you should take away from the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, yeah, and I think with that, that wraps up week 1 and week 2. Congrats to all the teams who won. Good luck to all the teams that fell short in the first 2 weeks. Hopefully, they can find a way to come back. moving on to the final part, and everyone who's wanting to talk about predictions for week 3 and week 4. And so I'm just going to kind of explain this real quick. So, due to the schedule, I am not going to be able to do a podcast every week. I just don't think it's possible just because of how many reschedules are constantly happening during the weeks. Um, so we're going to have one every 2 weeks. So this week we're going to predict week 3 and 4. And then we'll have another climb podcast after week 4 of the Summit Season 2. So getting off into the first matchup, which let me just scroll down. It is first up Disco Spiders versus Corporate Budget Cuts, and I think you guys already know what my answer is. I'm gonna go with Disco Spiders versus Beats Corporate Budget Cuts.
Um, we agreed as well.
Mm-hmm.
Disco Spiders. We had. I think if you've been listening to this podcast episode, it shouldn't come as a surprise here. We've been singing Disco Spiders praises, and we've had a lot of concerns with corporate budget cuts. If those two trajectories are kind of keep going, the logical assumption is that Disco Spiders will have a field day against corporate budget cuts. But there are opportunities where corporate budget
Mm-hmm.
cuts can, make the adjustments against it. David is just a wall. If that split pushing maniac keeps going and is able to kind of run things around, it'll probably cause problems. Soulpan, he's someone who's very experienced in with all different types of play styles, who probably have an answer to it. But we can see possibly some of the mechanics shine in some of the other players around the team, and see if corporate budget cuts and kind of get their footing back. If they're able to beat Disco Spiders, even if we are predicting against them, it would be a overwhelming, like hey, we're here and we're back and we're ready to go kind of thing. So I think this would be a good one to watch.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had Disco Spiders winning, but I think Sparks is correct. If Proton Pop player is their ADC and if Giuseppe is their jungle, I think they can go toe to toe with this team. Cisco is no slouch. Cisco was
Mm-hmm.
a little overhyped uh, from his friends. They said he was a massively good player, and what I've seen, he's a great player. And I think he can go. He could probably go toe to toe. I just expected way more. I expected him to be stomping like all these millionaires he's currently
Mm-hmm.
faced. But I know he's been away from the game for a lot, so maybe this is a roller coaster. This is a bit, maybe with time he just continues to improve and goes back to his regular form. I'm excited to see that. I'm waiting to see that. I'm patiently waiting. But I believe if they stick to that formula, they can probably. I mean, it'll still be Disco Spider's favored, but they may actually win.
Mm-hmm.
It would be one hell of a story to bring up if Cisco was able to go toe to toe with Pyrosis. I mean, that raises your stocks up immediately. So I think that'll be a good matchup in particular to watch.
Matchup of the week, you would say?
Well, there is some Gopher shenanigans. Well, oh wait, that's week 4. I guess possibly in week. Yeah, it
Well,
could be in week 3. We'll see.
yeah, well, I guess we'll kind of see. So the next game we have is oh, hang on. Asterios Bonobos versus Misfits. I actually have Asterios Bonobos winning this series. I think it's going to be a little close though. I think it's going to be a 2-1. I think Misfits might find a cheeky win, but I think it's going to kind of depend how the whole team plays. But I'm not sleeping on Misfits. I just think Asterios Bonobos has the better players, and unfortunately, Sparks. I think Joe's unfortunately going to find the kills on you and create a lead.
Well, with absolutely no biases at all, we have Misfits winning. The
Woo!
series goes to
Yeah,
Bonobos.
Misfits!
Crazy, I know, but I can't bet against myself. That'd be just the stupidest thing ever. And Asterios Bonobos, while they are again, they're exceptional players. They play well. We'll see. We'll see what kind of cheeky plays and cheeky strategies we got going on. I think it'll be a fun series for sure.
Mhm.
It'll be a good time. I can guarantee that.
As an unbiased member, I will at least say there's an avenue for Misfits to win. We did pick him a win. We made an agreement, Sparks and I, that we won't bet against our teams.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
think there's an avenue for you guys to win. If you just go even with Conga or even beat him, I think Red can go toe to toe with Hysteria.
Mhm. Yeah,
I believe my hot daddy will stomp. Again, I don't know why he's so underrated, but my hot daddy is a hot daddy, man. He's a
true,
hot daddy,
true,
and
true.
and
Preach, preach.
He's
and
very
you're
good.
you're going against two master junglers. Like this is an even matchup in jungle, so
Hmm.
it's gonna be more about who can help their laners win more and all that stuff. So I think this is a little more even than people think. So there's an avenue for Mistus to win. So we're still gonna stick with them.
Okay,
You betcha.
no, I totally get it. This game for week 2 was really hard for me to decide. I just think Asari Bonobos just I think they're gonna figure out what they need to fix and they're gonna fix it and then they're gonna execute. So that's why I have them winning. Moving on, Better Learn Spanish versus Goofy Gophers. Now I will say this one actually took me like 10 minutes to decide because I was like, man, I was like, who do I want to win? Like, who do I think is gonna win? So I'm gonna say it. I'm going with Better Learn Spanish. I'm a fan of the Woojin of the Injustice. I just think this team can find some way to beat this team. So I'm gonna go with Better Learn Spanish for Goofy Gophers. It's gonna be a hard matchup, but I believe.
Let me say this: Goofy Gophers has two of the absolutely craziest solo laners in the entire league. GYX, let's be honest here, is pushing way he's punching way above like what is shown for him. Like he's shown as like a plat jungler or whatever. He plays very, very well. Even Guanabon, my master's jungler, was talking about how like good GYX is. Like he plays very well. I think he should not be slept on. God, I hope not. He's won the league before, or back in the La Liga days. And
Season 4, baby.
yeah, that was against my team. Whoop, whoop. But in all seriousness, Eldaho 2 is just an incredibly like a vocal person. I don't know enough about Gamer Destroyer to comment on him, unfortunately, but I imagine he's also just incredibly gifted and good as well. So yeah, those solo
uh,
lanes are, at least I can know for a fact, Elo Dad and I'm Nikus are two of the strongest solo lanes ever. However, comma, Better
comma.
Learn Spanish is honestly my anime protagonist. It feels like for the season, like it feels like I don't know how else to describe it, but these fellas they embody like we can claw back from any kind of like situation. They have more teamwork and synergy than I would personally believe compared to Goofy Gophers. And in another incredibly unbiased
Do they
opinion,
have plot
they
armor?
definitely have.
Do
I
they?
think Better Learn Spanish has plot armor. I honestly think it.
Whoa!
Until
Okay,
until I see something crazy out of it, I think they've got a good amount of plot armor.
let's go. Better Learn Spanish is plot armor. Let's go.
Like I'm a fan. I don't know what to tell
All
you. I'm a
right,
fan.
for respect. Any thoughts and justice about your team versus
I'm
week 3?
actually. I will say I'm falling in love with Sparks. Just the way he's,
Ooh, okay.
the way he's talking about us like that. I don't know. It kind of he does sound like our number one fan. I think
Listen,
it'll be.
listen. I'll leave the chat right now. I'll let you guys have your fun right now.
I'll show him some things about top matchups.
Ooh.
Ooh, ooh.
But I think it's gonna be a very hard matchup. Again, I've said this before. Elodad is a fucking god here in Summit esports when it comes to the top lane. I am
Mhm,
Nick is no fucking slouch. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, mid laner. So I think me and Danny definitely have our job cut out for us. But I think every other way, we probably have an advantage.
mhm,
I think we have an advantage in jungle. I think we have an advantage in bot. So it's gonna be us leaning towards them, and me and Danny either trying to stay even as much as possible against these two Goliaths in
mhm.
these solo lanes.
Sweet. Yeah. Moving on to the next game. We Hate Gophers versus Don't Press Tab. I have We Hate Gophers winning it just because of their recent succession. Playing super well against some of these better teams. I'm excited about We Hate Gophers and what they'll do. I think Don't Press Tab though is going to be a little bit of a hard matchup, just due to their bot lane, and I think Gabubi is going to maybe have a little bit harder time to Gargura or XD losing it. We'll see who plays in the mid lane that game. But I do think Cookies, will find that lead top lane pretty easily and just kind of find and extend his lead into other lanes.
Yeah, we hate Gophers winning as well. When there's a team that's on a hot streak that kind of is like we hate Gophers, it's kind of hard to bet against them when they're currently in the middle of their uphill climb, and we don't know how far the peak goes. But their matchups here seem very favorable for them. I think the biggest point though that's in favor of Don't Press Tab is that bot lane, of course. Uh, Anyone who's played against Rob Goblin, they know that he is a threat. It'll really depend on if We Hate Gophers has answers to stop it. Gabe's pool is a lot of like assassin style champions, things that can burst out ADCs quickly. It'll be interesting to see if they have like some sort of counter to it, some form of like disengage, a shield enchanting champion,
Mhm.
any way to keep Rob alive, because I do feel like he'll be a major win condition for this team, which is how it goes. And I also think the mid laner and jungle, whichever one shows up for it, because they might switch around a bunch.
Mhm.
We'll see how they play against Gabe. It's Gabe seems like one of the at least flashiest players here, and so it'll be interesting to see how it goes with them. But in terms of predictions, we hate Gophers winning overall.
Yeah, I think we have been saying his praise hard enough, but I think Gourmet Cookies has performed really well. I think he's very. I played him before. He's a very knowledgeable person. Um, to be able to come top, come support, and come jungle, and play them all on a very great, like high level. I think he's very smart, a lot smarter than me, I would say. Um,
He's
I
also
mean,
very handsome.
uh,
Yes,
sure, sure, sure.
It's
I have
correct.
not seen
It
him.
is true.
I
It is
can
true.
vouch.
I have not seen
I
him,
can
but
vouch.
I'll agree. I'll go with the masses. If you guys say he is, he is. But I think he probably abuses Brissy a lot more than me and Sparks did, personally.
Yeah. Gourmet has just really good like just game sense in general. That's one of his
Mhm.
biggest strengths. And so if he knows these matchups well, and Brissy's stuck on a tank, good luck, soldier. I wish you the best. I really do.
Good luck, man.
Yep.
Moving on to the final game of week 3, Mystic Ninja Cyclones versus Ant Setup. I have Ant Setup winning this game. Yes, I know Thim is on that team, but I think Ant Setup. I just kind of like what you said. I think they just have a really good lanes. I think Logic's gonna clap top lane versus Asuna. Setup is gonna beat Cisco. And the bot lane I think is the only like really concern that can poses a question mark for me. Berto versus Ranger. I do think it's Ranger favored, but Berto has Berto has some of the weirdest plays that works, and I just think he's gonna pull out something wacky and perform on it really well.
I think Baratel's a sleeper. I think not a lot of people give him credit for what he does on a team. At least I can say that personally because I was on a team with them, Froggy Fighters. I think it was like last La Liga season. He's a very creative player, and I think that creativity is like insanely helpful. Also, one thing that not a lot of people mention, his morale that he brings to the team is insanely good. Like he's
Hmm.
such a loud, boisterous player that's able to kind of keep the vibes up very good, which you're going to need in like long series like this. Um, we had and setup winning the series. In my personal opinion on this topic, I think Injustice mentioned it. I think it's going to be so important here. Asuna needs to level up, right, to get to that next level. This is the perfect time to like kind of show what you're made of. Is against Logic, right? A very mechanically like sound player, and so being able to kind of like touch elbows and play a battle of mechanically champions. Now it could go into I don't know if they're gonna lock in tanks. I mean, who God knows? Tanks are running rampant in the top lane in this league. But I think Asuna versus Logic is going to be a very volatile situation. Setup, of course, is going to do setup things, and it'll be interesting to see how Cosmo and Fleas handle the Thim and Lord Tubby situation because they are again no knock to Mystic Ninja. Their bot lane is insane. Yeah.
I got a question for you guys. Do you think in this game, do you think we'll get the Wind Brothers versus? Do you think we'll
Oh
get
my
the
god.
Yone versus Yasuo matchup?
I
I
don't know because I think they both want to play Yone. So
yeah. So
um,
I think it would be funny though, because I know Logic plays a really good Yasuo though, and I know Asuna has been playing a really good Yone. So I don't know. That would be an awesome matchup though to see. Yasuo, Logic's knowledge on Yasuo versus Asana's knowledge on Yone, because I both players know both sides of matchup really well, so I would be really excited to see that in the top lane. Any thoughts on that, Injustice?
It should be good. It should be a good match.
Mhm.
Think again. I've said it so many times. I'm hoping. I'm wishing. I'm a big fan of Mystic. Uh, Mystic Cyclone Ninjas. Um,
Mystic Ninja Cyclones.
Mystic Ninja Cyclones. Good God, what a name.
What a
Um,
name.
but I don't think it's their time just yet,
Hmm.
especially against We Hate Gophers
Don't
Setup
and setup
and setup.
and
versus
setup.
and setup.
Sorry. Yeah,
Uh,
Logic is a beast.
Maybe this is the
I
time to Austin to prove himself. That's based against logic, right?
I think it's
mhm.
possible. He could surprise us. He surprises us with David. Why not surprise us with Logic? And if he
Mhm.
does just that, then they win. If not, I also can I just say, Cosmo's a fucking beast.
Yes.
True. He. I'm not gonna lie. Week one, when I saw him pick Twitch and absolutely slaughter game two, I was like, whoa. I think I was sleeping on this guy. I was sleeping on this boy.
His Jinx ult did not miss.
Oh
Like
yeah, I forgot about
dude
that.
was shooting it from like top lane and just boom. Like what? It
I
didn't
told.
amount to anything, but like he hit him.
That top in bot lane is going to be very contentious this series. It'll be a really good one to watch.
Hmm.
Yeah. Moving on to week four. Don't press tab. Speaking of Mystic Ninja Cyclones versus Mystic Ninja Cyclones, they're the first game of week four. Don't press tab versus Mystic Ninja Cyclones. I have don't press tab. Yes, we just talked about, Mystic Ninjas need to get that level up. Honestly, I think this game, Asuna, well, yes, you're the better top laner. I think you need to get a find the champion that you can really level up on and try to create a lead top lane and then try to transition it to your other lanes in the best way you can. However, looking at the rest of the lane for Don't Press Tab, I just think they're outmatched in almost every role. And I think Thim versus Tubby and Rob versus Venom is going to be a little uh, depending on how they go. But I do think it's Rob favored, and I think everything else is don't press tab favor.
Really?
So, because we're not Mystic Ninja Cyclone haters, and we said there's a time for them to
Mass.
rise. This is the time that at least me and Injustice think this is the time for them to rise.
Okay, okay.
We have them. We have the prediction towards Mystic Ninja Cyclones. In my opinion, on this, Asuna I've mentioned before is a feast or famine top laner, just from what I've seen from my observations. This
Mhm.
is the perfect time, if there is any other time, to
For him to
really
feast.
yeah, this is the absolute moment. And I think that's going to be a real big problem for this team, but we'll see. I'm not as sure on how mid lane will go. I don't know neutral Azrael that well in order to kind of comment on that matchup, but I think that'll also be a point of contention. I think the biggest point of contention though will be that bot lane, and I think the consistency that them and Lord Tubbyton can bring, in my opinion, will be a deciding factor. Not that Rob's inconsistent, God forbid that,
Mhm.
but I think what I want to say is that they can at least keep up with them. Where other bot laners would have to kind of like play very passive, I think this is someone that can go like toe to toe, at least on paper. And I think that will be the matchup for anybody who's watching. Watch the bot lane. It's gonna be a really interesting situation. I really do believe.
Mhm.
I feel like this is the most evenly matched top bot lane that's we've seen in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I do want to say the X-Ray's a massive Mystic Ninjas hater. Like, what did Rangers? I'm sorry, but
Right.
what did you do to him? Like,
I
yeah.
apologize or what?
Ranger didn't do anything. I'm just not thrilled about this team. That's literally the only thing is I'm not too excited about this team, and
But you're thrilled about don't press tab.
I'm a Rob fan.
This would be a good time for Don't Press Tab to get a win under the belt if week 3 goes as predictions were talked about. This would be a good time to at least to
Yeah.
kind of bring things back
I
in their
think
defense.
I think they're either I think Mystic Ninjas is either evenly matched or better in each lane.
Yeah, I think
I think Neutral's duel, either you're sleeping on him. I think he can go toe to toe with XD losing it. I think Ranger, I take Ranger over Garguro, who's a great player, but again, Ranger's in his natural role. And Asuna versus Brissy, as much as I'm a Brissy fan, uh, it's Asuna wins that. And then again, I've spoken on how the bot lane is evenly matched. This is where Mystic Ninjas wins.
Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately, Don't Press Tab continues to lose. Maybe the next week, maybe week 5 is where you start your uptrend. But this is where Mystic Ninja wins. So
I
stop
think
hating.
Okay.
team fights will be a big part in this as well. If we're talking about a lot of even lanes, then where do you go next? You go to team fights, right? And we'll see if they're able to kind of do that because I know Brissy's going to play things that are more associated around team fights. Asuna's probably going to play things that are more associated around lane dominance, and maybe that'll end up being a factor. So that's another thing to keep in mind.
Well,
Yeah.
we're split on that one. I'm glad we talked about that one because
Uh-huh.
I think that one's going to be an interesting match. Maybe even game of the week. Looking at maybe.
Well, there are some
Oh,
Gophers involved at
yeah, I
the
forgot
LB.
Gophers were involved in this week. Meanwhile, let's go to the next game: Disco Spiders versus Ant Setup. I mean, you guys already know my answer. I'm gonna go with Disco Spiders, of course. Can't bet against my own team.
Unfortunately, we will have to agree with you on this one.
Oh,
Fortunately,
I was scared you guys were gonna say, oh, unfortunately, we're gonna choose Ant Setup. I was like, well, you guys are.
When you have a team that it has Sulpan on it, it's hard to bet against them, especially when Sulpan, I think, especially thrives, at least from just observations, having the tools around him. And I think this team definitely has the tools that he wants, specifically in that mid lane. It's almost like it's like when you have like a chef, he needs like the tools in the kitchen, right? And Pyros is like the sharpest knife in the shed, pretty much. He he's just the
No,
ultimate weapon for Sulpan to
he's
play with.
every utensil. He can
He's the
he's
whole kitchen shelf.
he's the whole kitchen. Like and the other three players, we just happen to be the sous chefs. We're just like, yep,
Yeah.
yes sir, yes chef, yes
But he
chef.
rolls exceptionally well, which is an important thing here. And setup, we talked about that lane dominance, but I think it might be a little bit trickier, possibly in team fights, for them to be on the same page. I think the main thing that kind of separates Disco Spiders apart, at least in my eyes, is just like your team coordination is just like off the charts at the moment, which again helps Sulpan practically an ultimate leader. It just
Mhm.
makes life a little simple for everybody.
Yeah, honestly, what I will say is Disco Spiders, we have some really good, um, the way we think about the game and how we want to play each series. Um, Paul does a lot of pre-game, pre-series work, and I got to give him props to that. And uh, I would do some like in past seasons, but like this guy goes above and beyond. So I'm glad I'm on Soul Pants team, and he is playing exceptionally well. But yeah, Disco Spiders. I think I'm gonna take it. Moving on to the next game, Misfits versus Corporate Budget Cuts. Now here, I'm going to bet against Corporate Budget Cuts again. I'm gonna go with the Misfits win. I think Misfits can actually come back in a big way here. Let's go Misfits. I'm a Misfits fan.
So in our prediction line, since we've already beaten the stereo bonobos, misfits are on the rise. It just makes sense at this point to beat corporate budget
Oh,
cuts.
okay, okay, let's go.
but
Oh
in
wait,
in
I
all
predicted you guys to lose. No, 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 you guys don't lose. This is the
wow.
week. This is your week.
yeah. So we're going to. So I think we have misfits beating corporate budget cuts here. But if I want to talk more on the matchup, I think I'm excited to play against David. I think David is like one of the, I guess, like, I don't want to say like cookie cutter, but he's like the embodiment of just like the laning fit, like just the top laner. Like if I imagine a top laner, like Elo Dad's incredible, like above and beyond. But if I just think of like if I have one an example of like a top laner in dictionary, I go to David. Like
You
he's
go
the
to
embodiment
X-ray.
of everything.
Gotcha. No, okay, got it.
but he's like the true like wall of a team. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm excited to play against him for sure, and the
Mhm.
rest of the team. I I don't know if they're going to fix those issues. Well, I guess we'll see by week 3 and week 4 here.
Hmm.
But again, those concerns from corporate budget cuts, they're glaring concerns. It's funny. The most glaring concerns we see are from the two teams that happen to have lane swaps. Don't press tab and corporate budget cuts, and it's those kind of same reasons that kind of add some
And
concerns.
I've it's not updated on the screen, but Better Learn Spanish is actually at 4 and Don't Press Tab are at 1. So like you said, like they're both at the bottom of the leaderboard right now. So we'll just kind of see if those two teams can find those, if they can make those lane swaps work and from game to game basis. And so yeah, we'll see. And anyways, let's move on to the fourth game of the week, Asterios Bonobos versus Better Learn Spanish. This game was also really hard for me to predict. I just think Asterios Bonobos have really good momentum, but I'm a Better Learn Spanish fan, so let's go Better Learn Spanish. I believe in Injustice to actually beat Joe, beat Prominence Kanga in the top lane. I
That's a
believe
lot of
I
faith.
believe in Kanga. He can he
Based on
can
you.
he can do it.
Wait, do you believe in Kanga? Or you believe in me? You're make
Oh,
you.
sorry. I believe in Injustice to
Ah,
kill Kanga. Uh, and the bot lane, honestly, Woojin. I think Woojin alone with just the random picks, the Oriana pick, by the way, I just think is so funny, and it played so well with the team comp as well in those games. So I'm really excited, especially against this team, because I just think if Better Learn Spanish can find a pick to just annoy uh, Asteria, it's going to be funny. That's all I'm saying. I think it's going to be a fun series. But I have Better Learn Spanish winning this one.
yeah.
All right.
I think the best person to talk about this one would be Injustice. So I'll leave it up to you, bud.
So we have from No Biased, we have Better Than Spanish winning. I have laned against Conga multiple times, mostly mostly away from competitive. Um, we'll do like customs and stuff with random teams and whatnot.
Hmm.
And I think it's evenly matched. I think obviously when you look at him, he's obviously the better top laner, but I'm more than confident in laning against him. Um, I know Dandy will smash Dragon Tooth. Um, and I think it'll be Dowsing's most difficult matchup against Morn. And let's be honest, our bot line is better. So I do think that we end up winning here. I think we're the better team as of right now. I
Hmm.
think once Dragon Tooth levels up and starts to learn the intricacies of mid lane, they might stand better chances against us and other top teams. But I definitely think we win this one.
I do think though for Asterios Bonobos and their ability to win this game, it will probably be around Morn, I would assume, and Morn's ability to kind of facilitate others to succeed, right?
Hmm.
Junglers they kind of have like the junglers are in a tough position. They have like two things they have to do. One, they have to get themselves ahead, and then two, they have to see if they can help others like kind of fight with objectives and fight to kind of get the team going a bit. They're almost like a playmaker, right? And so I think Morn will have to kind of really step up to the plate here, and this is a good opportunity to show it against Better Learn Spanish. But you know, I love Better Learn Spanish, so
Yep,
you
but
know,
Better Learn Spanish, I think, is a up and coming team this season. So I'm really excited about this game because I think this one is a close game of the week. But
yeah, 100%.
game of the week, it's got to be this one: Goofy Gophers versus We Hate Gophers, the Gopher matchup. Listen, man. When I predicted this, I was like, man, who wins this? But I think this is the first game we hate Gophers lose. Or sorry, we hate Gophers lose. Goofy Gophers win it is my prediction.
First thing I want to say, because it is two teams that seem to be like almost intertwined, spice things up when we get to week 4. I'm calling out the both teams, the Gophers. I maybe make some bets. I want to see some. I want to see some spice. I want to see you guys making some bets on the series. This is like the one series that everyone I think is like super excited for. I would love to see like some friendly competition, some banter and trash talk. I think this will be the one to watch for. I'd love it. I think it'd be nice entertainment. But in terms of what we picked too, we actually had the same thing as you, X-Ray, on this. We had Goofy Gophers winning the series again, so we hate Gophers. I think this is for me at least. I think this is the time when the We Hate Gophers, their little hot streak, would run out. They're going up against like really like the great mid lane. Now, Gabe is an incredible mid laner, so I think I'm Nickus and Gabe. I think will be a very pivotal point. But Elo
Mhm.
Dad in the top lane is just, I mean, that's a different breed, and we'll see if he's able to translate that lead to kind of help them win as well.
Yeah,
So that'll be, I think, a big point of contention for them.
yeah, I totally agree. Anything to add, Injustice?
I think the biggest loser here is OT Gator. I don't know who's gonna root for.
Oh yeah, because he has
Oh
I
to play
think
both
no!
sides. Oh, this is really. Ooh,
OT Gator.
what is
Wait,
he gonna do?
we
Is
gotta
he gonna
keep our.
trash talk? Is he gonna trash talk himself? Like, what does he do here?
Do you think he just like roots for both teams? No, he's gotta like.
he's got to. I think he's got to choose. I think
Friendships will be broken here.
Yeah,
friendships. You
this was
know
the
what?
drama of the season, right?
You
This
know
is like
what?
the climax.
Man, I should have asked OT Gator what team he would pick.
You know what? You
Ah,
could do. You could call him out right after this podcast comes
yo,
out. Right after some
OT
people start
Gator.
watching, you gotta tell
I
us.
I hit him up. I hit him up. He told me that Goofy Gophers are gonna win. No, I didn't hit him up. But honestly, I think this is probably game of the week. I would say if this isn't game of the week, I we're done with I'm done with Summit Esports.
The
We're
storylines write themselves. I mean,
I
the
mean,
team building
yeah,
is
we
perfect.
like this is by far game of the week. But anyways, that is going to wrap up episode 2 of The Climb. Thank you, Injustice and Sparks, for joining me on this week of The Climb. It was a great time. Next time we will be introducing a new role to the to the podcast. Two new co-hosts. It's probably going to be the bot lane, so we'll see. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Thank you to my co-hosts for coming in, and yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode of The Climb.